This is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, and it's absolutely important to you as a man.
Metamorphosis is a very unique novel and is written by Franz Kafka. It is about Gregor Samsa's transformation into an insect.
Oh, by the way, it actually isn't a unique story, I suppose. I mean, it's unique, I suppose, as a written story, but it's actually talking about anything but uniqueness. All right?
Gregor has no idea why this has happened to him. He discovers his transformation after waking up late for work one day. He finds his back is now armored and his belly is brown, both characteristics of an insect. Gregor is a traveling salesman and thinks that this can't be real.
Oh, by the way, the only reason Kafka was able to make this story so famous is by coding what was going on. Him turning into an insect, Gregor, is really just a code for him becoming ill in a permanent way. It's something like, oh, it could be the elephant man disease, but the quickness it's coming on, it's something else would be more appropriate. But if he hadn't made him an insect, something truly unique, something weird, people would not be interested in the story.
At first, he figures he's simply overworked. Unfortunately, it's not a dream. He figures he has even bigger problems, as he's late for his train ride. He was supposed to take the 5 o'clock train, but it's already 6:30, and the last train leaves at 8. At that point, he'll be late, and his boss will come pounding on his door with a doctor. His mother comes to the door, and Gregor realizes his voice has changed, but is determined to get up and get ready. Gregor has to do this because his coworkers will show up at his house soon, asking why he didn't make his train. Sure enough, the maid lets in the chief clerk, and he, along with Gregor's parents, come knocking at his door. The chief clerk is annoyed. All he thinks about is ways that Gregor is trying to scam him.
See, now this is what we're talking about. You guys know what happens when a guy gets sick. This is a serious illness that this metaphor is about. And this guy can only think about his responsibilities. This is so typical. You know, it's like that guy who finds blood in his stool, and then all he can think about is, man, if I get sick today, I'm going to get yelled at by the boss. I mean, your job is meaningless if you are a sick person. I don't mean like sick to this point. Your life should be your main focus. And this is just how disposable men are in their own heads.
Or get out of work. Yet in reality, Gregor works tirelessly at his job. Gregor responds to the clerk and says that he'll get ready now and make the 8 o'clock train. Meanwhile, Gregor's parents are acting completely hysterical. The mother is calling for a doctor, and the father is calling for a locksmith to break open the door. Gregor finally unlocks the door and shocks everyone. From Gregor's apology, we learn his parents are in serious debt to his employers. He works to support his entire family. The chief clerk is so scared, he leaves immediately. Gregor tries to stop him and falls on his stomach, which is actually perfect, and he's able to move a little bit better. Gregor's father becomes aggressive towards Gregor. The father grabs the chief clerk's stick and a newspaper and beats Gregor back into his room.
See, this is why I made videos talking about the hypocrisy of fatherhood. These guys, this particular father, he's just using his son. And as soon as this boy can't perform, all of a sudden he's willing to use violence against him. Because that's all Gregor is to his father, a used tool.
In the process, he gashes Gregor's side by scraping the door. Gregor wakes up many hours later and finds a dish of milk and white bread. To his surprise, he finds the milk disgusting. After many hours, his sister comes in and, seeing the uneaten milk, brings some other food. In particular, he ate cheese, half-rotten vegetables, and bones covered in white sauce. He's fed twice a day from this point on. Also, he discovered that his wounds have healed. 5 years ago, Gregor's father's business collapsed. When this happened, Gregor became determined to provide for his family. He even...
See, like, this is a typical disposable male mindset. You know, daddy is the one who failed, but the son, he says, I'll become a real man. I'm going to man up and take care of things. As you can see, daddy doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have any, what do you call it? He has no loyalty to his son. He has no thankfulness. His son saved him, and yet he's beating him when he can't perform. Dad, why don't you go and get a job?
He wanted to send his sister to a musical college, as she loved to play the violin. Gregor's father is in the main room, and Gregor...
Oh, Gregor has a sister, by the way, and Gregor wants to make her happy. But his sister isn't working, by the way.
Listens. His father has saved a few years' worth of money that they can use to support himself. Gregor thinks out loud that this money could have freed him from his job much sooner.
See, now this is what we're talking about. In the Pro Male Collective, we talk about resource hoarders, and that's what his father is. He's a resource hoarder. He's using his son to take care of him so he can keep his money to himself.
But he figures it's good that his father did save it, and is happy to hear about it. A month had now passed since Gregor's...
Yeah, it's all right that I'm getting used by my loved ones. It's good because that's all I am. I'm just a tool to be used. You know, I can only have self-worth as a work mule. If I can't work, then I'm worthless.
Transformation, and he finds his room boring. To entertain himself, he would crawl up on the ceiling and hang there. To help out, his sister removed all the furniture from the room. But his mother doesn't want to remove the furniture. She thinks by removing it, they are removing a piece of Gregor's ability to recover. Even Gregor acknowledges this and is a little shocked that he was trying to create a warm, dark cave for himself.
Yeah, he's shocked that he is going to make the atmosphere for himself as comfortable as they can. And they don't want to make it comfortable for him because the bed isn't there to be to comfort him. The bed is there to encourage his recovery so he can go back to working like a dog for them so they don't have to. So that's what his mother thinks.
After changing his mind about the furniture, Gregor tries to save a piece of art by covering it. When his mother comes back into the room, she faints.
Well, this is the thing. He has to try and protect art. It's a piece of, a picture takes up no room. So why would they even remove it? Because it might bring him joy.
The sight of him. Gregor wants to help, so he goes into the main room where his mother is at. At this point, Gregor's father returns and is violent towards Gregor. He immediately begins throwing apples at his son, and one lodges in his back. This causes excruciating pain and almost entirely paralyzes him. Then, Gregor's father and sister throw him back into his room. With the apple still lodged in his back, Gregor's wounds fester for over a month. Meanwhile, his mother was sewing for a fashion store, and his sister got a sales job. To make more money, the family sold their jewelry. They also wanted to downsize from this apartment, but couldn't hope to move Gregor.
See, look, now that Gregor can't work, they finally get off their lazy asses and start working themselves, right? And this isn't going to be a happy ending because when these guys become self-sufficient, they don't need Gregor anymore. So what's going to happen to him?
Gregor's sister's cleaning deteriorates. She would leave the room in a filthy state. When his mother tried to clean it, the sister goes ballistic. The family eventually hires a new cleaning lady, and she is also irritating. She randomly opened Gregor's door one day and noticed him. Then, every day after that, she would disturb him at least once. Later, the family got...
Yeah, so the people there they hired is abusing him for no other reason that she likes it.
3 tenants who lived in one room of the apartment. They demanded extreme tidiness, and so all the random junk of the apartment ended up in Gregor's room. After dinner one evening, Gregor's sister is playing the violin. Gregor enjoys the playing and moves into the main room. The door to his room was accidentally left open by the new cleaning lady. When the tenants saw Gregor, they immediately gave notice that they were moving and refused to pay for the time they had already stayed. Then, Gregor's sister stated that they had to get rid of Gregor.
There you go. You see, he's of no use anymore. They realize, hey, we could be to Gregor what he was to us. When we were down and out, he took the reins and sacrificed. Now that he's down and out, we just want to get rid of him. Especially his sister, who wasn't working at all. She was just living off his teat.
They all agreed with the father when he pathetically wailed, "If he could just understand us." This is a bit comedic, since the father is the one who didn't understand Gregor. Gregor understood perfectly. Gregor felt his pain subsiding.
I don't think Gregor understood at all. Did he ever come out and say, I am just a useless nothing unless I'm working? So this guy who just said this doesn't understand.
And breathed his last breath. When the cleaning lady came the next morning, she found Gregor's lifeless carcass and informed the household. The 3 tenants came out of their room to see what the commotion was. Angry, Mr. Samsa tells them to get out of his house, and they leave. Then, the family takes a tram ride and feel quite happy with themselves. Their jobs are good, and they're excited to find a new apartment.
Yeah. You see, Gregor died, so finally they don't have to look after him. They became self-sufficient. They lived off him, and now he's gone, and they can finally celebrate their freedom. I'm going to say this again. The only reason this story gets noticed the way it does is because of the metaphor. If you just had this story without him turning into a bug, if he just got sick, then no, it wouldn't be an interesting story. People wouldn't read it at all. Matter of fact, here's a guy in real life down here. Even my grandfather had a similar story. He worked hard and built 3 houses. He was a teacher when he became old. He supported himself and family with pension. He had 3 daughters. Suddenly one day, he had a stroke and his daughters were looking after him well. After 2 months, they gradually skipped over his physiotherapy exercises. After 5 months, they weren't helping in any exercise. He lost all ability to even sit. One day he became unconscious. He was admitted to the hospital. He was fed through a pipe in his nose. After 4 days, he passed. But even now, after 2 years, they discuss about him. They talk about his pension loss and how he could have built one more house. Wow, you see, Kafka here, this fantasy story is not a fantasy story. It hooks on to reality. It's a reality story. It doesn't just hook on to reality. It is reality. The only fantastical part is that he turned into a bug. But even that's not fantastical because it's just a metaphor for becoming ill. When a workhorse provider becomes ill, he becomes an insect. He becomes disgusting. And these good old dads, these fathers, I mean, you know, they kick their sons out of the house when they're 18. Please get out, because I was here for the wife. right? I was here for the wife, not you. But I like the daughter. She can stay and live off me because she's one of those super females. So I mean, like I say, it's sad because as popular as Kafka is, this story, as popular as it is, people don't really take it, and it doesn't change things because people just read the story and think, what an interesting story. They don't really see that Kafka is talking about reality. The reality, gentlemen, for you. Thank you, everyone.